threats are how they function.
But what is, again, I'm going to ask you, state sponsored is an assumption which points to the levels of sophistication or the acquisition of technology, right? Like there's no
Yes.
other basis to, I'm just clarifying, just for my own understanding. Is that correct, Divij?
So every kind of security team will have its its own definitions of what it would classify as a state sponsored action, right? This would depend on, of course, the levels of investment into that. So see, there's, for example, if you have a phishing email that's for financial purposes sent out to 1 billion people, um,
Mm-hmm.
so that, you can clearly say that this is for the purpose of phishing. It's for getting money, it's for duping people. So it's a security threat at a mass level, for
Right.
the purposes of compromising people's financial information. Now, when you have something that's targeted at a very specific number of people, usually people who are, say, of interest to specific governments,
Yeah.
journalists, people in different kinds of opposition parties or other networks of people, then you can narrow down. You can say, okay, this is not for financial gain. There's clearly
Yeah.
some kind of other motivation
Got it.
behind it, and therefore you say, okay, so this is probably attributable
So
to a state agent instead.
So this is what the opposition is saying, Mahima. But how do you then make the leap in blaming the government for it? Because there are also certain things, certain dots that don't connect. Can we actually just ask Sriram to reconnect? Yeah, thanks. There are certain dots that don't actually connect. There is, for example, Samir Saran, who leads the Observer Research Foundation, who is not necessarily known as a critic of the government. There is Sriram, who's with us. I'm not sure he'd classify himself necessarily as a critic of the government. There are others. There's a satirist who has received this notification. So, Mahima, A, why do you feel only the opposition has been targeted given some of these other examples? B, how do you make the leap in terms of blaming the government as Rahul Gandhi has today? Mahima, please go ahead.
Jai Hind, and thank you for that query, Barkha, because I think every Indian needs to ponder over that quintessential query today. Because the Apple statement that has come out, and I would like to read the initial few lines of that statement, goes like this. The Apple says that Apple does not attribute the threat notifications to any specific state-sponsored attacker. State-sponsored attackers are very well funded and sophisticated, and their attacks evolve over time. Now, today I'm reminded of the time when Pegasus case was going on in the Supreme Court, Barkha, and you would remember that there was an affidavit that was filed by the government before the Supreme Court, and it was not signed by anybody. That became a controversy. Then later on, we found out at a stage that the government had handled the Pegasus files so carelessly, they were misplaced or burnt, I suppose. So that went on, and thereafter we saw how the Pegasus matter was handled, and the report clearly said that the investigation has not been taken up as seriously as it should have been. I'm also reminded of Jack Dorsey, the former Twitter head's statement when he said that the government of India had threatened Twitter of suppressing their operations or interfering with their operations if they did not suppress the content related to the farmers' protests and otherwise. And I
Hmm.
think we have innumerable such examples. Now, today, what we see is a series of names which brings out a pattern. And I think any right-thinking person today, not I would not say any right-thinking Indian, any right-thinking, any conscious person today would simply make out what's going on. This is snooping happening at the behest of the very
And your
authority.
basis for saying that is the profile of the people who have received this alert today.
Also that, and also you see India has been ranked second in tech exposure breaches, Barkha, with 2.29 billion records exposed. And what has the Indian government done for that? It is every Indian's security at stake. And what we see in front of us is a list of entitled individuals in this country who represent masses. If they can be targeted, then think of you and I. So I think it is the government which is not doing enough, rather, that is causing this kind of snooping and the breach of
Okay.
our right to privacy.
Okay, so the IT minister did speak to the press, speaking in Nambiar, and he made a couple of points. He said said these people who are complaining, he called them compulsive critics. He said the government has ordered an inquiry. He said that the Apple statement's language was vague. It had been issued in 150 countries. He did not point to any specific agency. Nevertheless, he said the opposition must cooperate, and the BJP is pointing out to the fact that Rahul Gandhi previously has refused to hand over the phone. Priyanka Chaturvedi, who I was speaking to earlier, said, who's going to hand over a phone if you suspect the state of having compromised it? Why would you hand over that device? Where do we go from here, Mr. Nambiar?
Well, I think you were mentioned about the Pegasus one, and this is the second time which we are seeing it. I think this is a serious concern, and if it is only for a selective number of people, whether it is journalists and the MPs or whatever it may be, it adds further more concerning. But one thing I am surprised, because I participated in a number of debates related to Pegasus then. That time it was the media has almost decided that there is Pegasus is used into all these journalists and celebrities or whatever, the political celebrities, which I call them. So, but unfortunately, when the Supreme Court appointed committee asked all those people to submit, if you have a strong feeling that your phone has been compromised by government or by some other agency, in India's case, India's tech forensic is very, very, very good. In fact, even from the international organizations do consult us for that. So I think it is important. There should be complaints which is filed under the cyber law or any other laws which may be prevailed in the country. So I think then, if required, all those people who feels that this has been happened, in fact, but then such kind of a messages do come and go in many times. In fact, I received a message somewhat similar about your phone is under threat, maybe someone else is watching. I have been using an iPhone ever since iPhone has come in. But then I asked my office, I run an IT company, so I asked my cyber guy that, yeah, what is this? Sir, ye chhod do, aap isko koi farak nahi padta.
So, I mean, honestly, I should know better after we were hacked, but I may not have even read an iMessage. That's the other point. Like, I may not have even read it. If I'd read it, I would probably thought it's spam.
No, this is a series of messages, these kind of messages. I'm not saying that this is especially an Apple as a device, because it is supposed to be one of the finest when it comes to security. Do come with such kind of an issue of notices, whether it is in the email or iCloud or for that matter any other stuff. But I think the matter of concern here should be that all these people who feel that they have been snooped by the government or government agencies, or for that matter anybody, should be
so here's the zero sum nature of the game, because nobody actually submits their devices, and that's something
nobody. So if you don't have anything much to hide, nobody is interested in your personal profile or personal details.
But come on, yeah, no. Would you hand over your phone? Would you hand over your phone to perfect strangers? You may have nothing to hide, but you have a thing called your privacy, upheld by the Supreme Court, the right to privacy.
No,
right?
I think
you have your private life.
You cannot even just see when you are attacked. When the question is that you are not privacy means you are only giving it to the authorities who is responsible to get justice for you.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point, because the BJP has officially raised it today. If you don't hand in your devices, how do you expect the inquiry to proceed? And it's a fair point. But I want to bring in Sriram for a second. Sriram, you received this alert. When you read it, what did you think first? Did you think it was spam? Did you take it seriously? Did you say, oh my God, I am now in this club of, Shashi Tharoor, Mahua Moitra, Priyanka Chaturvedi, all the other sort of Asaduddin Owaisi. What did you think?
Thank you, Barkha, for the opportunity to respond. No, I not received this for the first time. I do not feel elated to be in any club. I do not have a Louis Vuitton bag to be in that club anyway. My point is very simple. I want to repeat certain things spoken about the distinction between a private attack and a potential state-sponsored attack. Two aspects which India has not yet spoken. One, if you get an alert that a state-sponsored cyber attack is happening on you, what cyber laws or which cyber crime police station can I go to and register a complaint under what section? Suppose I go to the cyber police station and show him this message. Can they register a complaint in India and start acting against him? I do not think so. I don't know. I haven't tried. Second, when the first time I received this, and Apple, all of you, most of you have Apple may have received this. It gives you a series of instructions on how to reduce your risk, which largely reduces the efficiency of the phone. So what happens is you do enhance your security, like you do in the case of a physical attack. If there's a bomb blast or if there's some theft in your neighborhood, everybody's sense of being alert and vigilance goes up, but then you lower your guard over a period of time. So no, I'm not feeling important. Maybe I'm the least important person in that list or any list. Maybe it was an
But do
accident.
you feel creeped out?
First time, yes. I mean, it is frightening because it's not that they can read your WhatsApp screens or emails. That's not the point. The microphones are on, or the cameras might be on when the phone is not in use, or all the time. I mean, would you like? It's not like you're hiding something. There's a difference between hiding something wrong you're doing for reasons of safety versus, if I'm talking about my grandmother's sambar recipe to somebody, I wouldn't like anybody else to know it. It's really a family secret.
I no, beyond the sambar recipe, even if I am talking indiscreetly about what I really think about you, Sriram, I have the right to do that. That is my private space, right? And you talk assuming those conversations are private. You don't want a third person to hear them. There is something very violative. I think that is what we have to underscore without being trivial about it. There's something very violative and creepy. That's the word I want to use. In being spied on. But Pranesh, to Sriram's question, what are his options right now? And also to the BJP's question, if you don't give in your device, what do you want us to do? Pranesh, I want to bring you in there.
Sure. So currently in India, there are no clear laws under which people like Sriram can actually proceed. So there are laws such as under the Telegraph Act that penalize interception without authorization. But we know what happened when there was the Snoopgate episode in Gujarat, where a female architect was spied upon using the anti-terrorism squad. The Gujarat government agreed in the Gujarat High Court, that it had in fact spied upon her, but said it was done upon the request of her father. And the Gujarat High Court went on to dismiss the case as not being of public relevance. Now, it did not even check whether this was an abuse of the law, whether it actually violated the Indian Telegraph Act or not. Okay. In this case, we're not even sure whether interception has happened, because what Apple has actually told the people, if you can flash that message again on the screen, is
Can we just bring up the Apple notification? No, not this. The actual alert. The alert, not this. But Pranesh, you carry on. We'll get this right. Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
It has only said that there are potential state actors who are trying to compromise the iPhone associated with an Apple ID. This could be
it says trying to remotely compromise the iPhone associated with your Apple ID. Those are the exact words. Yeah.
This could be a remote attack. This could be an attack on your iCloud account. It needn't necessarily be some spyware that's actually on your phone. So giving in your phone doesn't mean that something will be found on the phone, because it could be some other kind of attack as well. People are assuming that the attack is on the device, that there's some spyware on the device itself. That's not what the Apple announcement or message